Hey everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're making another Meatless Monday, and it's gonna be Chana Masala, which hopefully I've pronounced that right. But this one, like the recipe kind of came to me in a little bit of a, well, not really in a journey, but I'm gonna take you on a journey that this recipe is related to. That's how that phrasing goes. So this recipe kind of first came to me via a girl that I was talking to at the time was vegetarian going vegan. I was like, well, I don't really cook anything vegetarian or vegan. You got any tips for me? And so she actually gave me this recipe, which is in a PDF format, which I guess she got from a friend. This is like a chain mail of recipes. I don't have a link for this one, so I'm gonna try and be more verbose in my explanations of the ingredients, like the amounts, as well as the steps themselves, so then you can actually follow along rather than my usual kind of ramble and then you just look at the recipe later and be like, oh, that's what he meant by that. That's how I got the recipe. I've made it a handful of times. It's in my opinion, very good. Today, I will say, so like it's vegan, the recipe itself, I'm making it not vegan because I'm using honey instead of maple syrup, which technically the recipe doesn't actually ever call for the maple syrup. It's, maybe I can like copy and paste it into like the description. I don't know how many characters I'm allowed, but it calls for ingredients that it doesn't use, and then it uses ingredients that it didn't call for. Like case in point, the maple syrup I mentioned. Later on, it talks about using coconut sugar, so I think that's where it would go in place because it's a sweetener. And then another instance of it doesn't list cilantro as an ingredient, but then in the recipe it calls for cilantro. So you gotta stay on your toes with this one. But that's the kind of fun little backstory of, I'm assuming somebody just wrote this down at some point. Maybe it was a family recipe, I don't know. But it was not well edited. However, me kind of giving this to you via a video format will be somewhat more edited because I had to rewrite it for myself to then tell to you. So hopefully it's coherent. The other kind of fun aspect of this recipe is a few years ago now. It felt like it wasn't this long ago, but it's been a few years, which kind of is concerning to me how time's just flying by. Midlife crisis aside, it's a good meal prep recipe. So I made it and took it into work back when offices existed in ye olden times. I brought it into the office and I was heating up in the microwave because it was lunchtime. And a guy who was an intern like popped his head and he's like, what are you making there? And I was like, Chana Masala. He gave me like the highest praise because he's like, it smells like home to him. And I was like, what? Like, oh, it's not a very impressive story, but like to a person, like having a person who you're making a dish like from their culture tell you that you did it correctly, it's good feelings inside. So I now need to try and find more friends from other locations and make food for them. Well, actually, I didn't even make it for him. He just smelled it. I should have made it again and gave it to him. But I mean, he was an intern, so he was only there for, well, I guess it was a few months. I feel like this was probably towards the end. It's been a few years. I forgot that maybe I did give him some. The thing that I remember is him saying it reminded him of home, and I was on cloud 9. I think all of my backstory ramblings are done. Why don't we run through the ingredients, which I'm going to be more, explicit about it, saying how much of each ingredient is needed so that when I call for it in the steps coming up, you'll know that's how much I need. 3 tablespoons of coconut oil, 1 onion, 1 tablespoon cumin, 6 cloves garlic, 2 tablespoons of ginger, 2 to 3 green chilies. I can count. I know what I'm doing. 1 tablespoon coriander, 1 teaspoon chili powder, 1 teaspoon turmeric, 1 of the big cans of pureed tomatoes, 2 cans of chickpeas, slightly drained, 1 teaspoon garam masala, 2 2 to 3 teaspoons of maple syrup, or in my case, honey, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and some cilantro. It's kind of user discretion is advised. The first step is going to, well, I almost got into the actual cooking. The first step with us, as we know, is the prep step. So we're gonna prep all of the ingredients, which is like the garlic, the ginger, the cilantro, the onion, and the chili that we have. So just kind of cut all those up. And I'm just gonna put, like most of them are used together. So like the chili, the garlic, the ginger, and the cilantro are all used together. So I just put those into a small bowl. And then the onion is used on its own. So you just kind of keep those two separate, and then you'll be good to go for the prep. The next step, now that we have everything prepped, is to put the oil, the coconut oil, into a pan on medium heat, and then we're going to cook the onions along with the cumin. This recipe is going to be very aromatic. There's a lot of spices and seasonings, whatever the correct term is, going in. It's going to smell great. The next step is to add the garlic, ginger, cilantro, and the chili in there. And I know that the recipe calls for 2 to 3 green chilies, and I am only putting in 1. It also calls for the chili to not be seeded when you cut it up. I seeded mine because I am a wimp when it comes to spice, like prolonged. Like I'm fine with doing like a one hit of like big spice just for the fun of it. But this meal is a meal prep, so I need to eat a lot of it and enjoy it. And a lot of spice is not my area of fun there. So I reduce that, but that's just for me personally. If you like spice, go to 3. If you're all right with spice, do the 2. If you're a wimp, do the 1. But the next step is to add those in and then just kind of cook it up a little bit more, get them all mixing and mingling, having a good time. Now that everything's kind of cooked together and melding and just smells delicious, the next step is to add the coriander, the turmeric, and the chili powder. And also it mentions if things are looking a little dry, you can add a little bit more oil in at this step. Based on how it looked for me for the last step, I don't think I need to add any more oil, but I also, to be fair, didn't legit measure 3 tablespoons at the beginning, so I might have put in more. So just keep an eye on it. Don't be afraid that if it's looking dry to add a little bit more oil. You got this. I believe in you. Now, I don't know if anybody else is gonna make this at home because of the weird format of me giving you this recipe. However, I don't know what it is. I'm assuming, I'm pretty sure it's the coriander. I should just sniff some coriander straight up to see if that's the smell that I'm getting. But after that last step, and I know that it's happened before because I think its smell is like one of the best senses that associates with memory. I'm gonna need to fact check myself on that one. But when I put in those spices, I don't know what it was, but my brain was just like Fruity Pebbles. I think it's the coriander. I think the coriander has like a kind of fruity, like sweet smell to it. And when that hits my nose, I'm just like Fruity Pebbles. Anybody else, when they smell coriander, between the next two steps, I'm gonna sniff some coriander, let you know on the next one if it's just straight up that. But if you are already sitting there and you're like, yeah, coriander to me smells like Fruity Pebbles as well. How's it going? What's up? New best friend. We got weird noses together. All of that being said, the next step is to add the semi-drained chickpeas along with the, what was it? Was it crushed? The tomatoes, whatever in the ingredient step, what kind of tomato, because I don't have it sitting in front of me, it's over there. Put the tomatoes in along with the chickpeas. You want to semi-drain the chickpeas, so just like pour a little out for the homies. The way that I approach it is I pour a little bit more out from one and then just leave the other one, because why slightly drain both when you can just like half drain one and then leave the other one full? That's just my logic on that approach. And then also like we're going for a semi-thick soup consistency. So you can add up to, like if it's too thick, you can add up to a cup of water at this step. I usually just put in a little bit of water into like the tomato can to kind of rinse it out, and you get a little extra water that way. But I believe that is all of the steps for this one. If I missed anything, I'll put up some text to be like, warning, warning, don't forget to do this. But I think I got it all. You're just dumping in and then stirring. All right, the next step, it's a little bit of a mouthful, some highs and some lows, literally. What we wanna do is we wanna increase the temperature to high so that we get the whole mixture up to a rolling simmer, I believe is the term that they use, so it's just constantly bubbling. And then we want to, once it hits that rolling simmer, reduce it down to low to maintain the simmer, just kind of like a low simmer, and then stir occasionally for 15 to 20 minutes. The next step in the recipe is actually two separate steps, but I'm gonna combine them into one, and I'm actually gonna reverse them in the order that I'm gonna do them in comparison to the recipe, because their second step of this was to add the lemon juice and the garam masala, and the first step was to taste and like adjust the seasoning, which seems like, why would you adjust the seasoning and then add more seasoning to it right afterwards? Doesn't super track for me. So I'm going to add the lemon juice and the garam masala, and then I'm going to taste and adjust the seasoning accordingly. And that kind of adjustment would be like if it's not spicy enough, you can add more chili powder. If it's needs more salt, add more salt. Or if it's too spicy, you can add some like sweetness to it, which this is where it lists the coconut sugar, but I'm assuming it's referring to the maple syrup that's in the ingredients. But obviously I'm going to use honey because I'm not vegan, so I don't need to, follow the rules that strictly. But once again, if you're making it vegan, don't put in honey like I'm going to. Like I said, to kind of summarize that, add the garam masala, add the lemon juice, and then taste and adjust the seasoning accordingly. So obviously that second part is gonna be a little bit more free form, like to each their own, taste it, see what you like. I mean, you can even add other spices in there, like I might, maybe add some more cumin, some more coriander, who knows. Also, I'm pretty sure I forgot to mention it in the previous step that I said I was going to. It was definitely the coriander. I gave a little sniff of the spice jar that I have, and I was like, yep, that's Fruity Pebbles. So anybody else, let me know if you think the same thing. Let's let's finish. This is the last step. So after this, it's gonna be serve and enjoy. So let's wrap things up and then it's dinner time. So everything's done, it's time to serve it up. And I made a few other things off camera without you guys seeing it, but it pairs well, in my opinion, with broccoli and sweet potatoes that have been roasted in the oven at like 375, as well as putting it over some rice. You don't need any of that stuff, it's good on its own. Unlike the ratatouille, it is definitely kind of a main. It's got those chickpeas in it, which bumps up that protein count, which your boy needs. Been hitting the gym. But no, just like to me, like things with like more protein typically fills me up and kind of keeps me full for longer, versus something like the ratatouille. Obviously I can eat enough to be full, but I kind of burn through it pretty quick and then I'm hungry again shortly after. So this is one of those vegetarian vegan meals that is vegetarian, vegan, but also filling. But this one, obviously, I mean, I've been singing its praise this whole time. I recommend attempting to make. I understand that this format's gonna be hard. I'm gonna hopefully have enough space to put the recipe in the description, because I want people to try the things that I'm showing you. I don't wanna just show you it and then you not do anything with it. But I mean, I feel like anything that I regularly make that I'm gonna then show to you, you know it's gonna be like a high ranking. This is so 5 out of 5. You don't really need me to tell you this, because if I say that I've made it numerous times before, you know it's good. You know that you should make it. It's the ones that are like the one-offs, which I feel like going forward, if I haven't made it before, if I have made it before, I'm not going to rate it. But if it's like my first time making it, then I'll give it a rating, because I don't make flops, at least multiple times. I'll do it once and be like, well, I learned. I mean, I might try and tweak it and then see if it makes it better, but that is not a thing that I will be doing for you live on camera. That is a thing that I'll be doing for myself, and then be like, I messed this up or I succeeded. Either way, I'll keep you informed, I don't know. But on that note, because I have no idea where I was going with that, bye Mom, still not dead. See ya.